Alright, guys, part 590. I went ahead and wrapped up everything I think like in this chatbot, but it actually took a long time. Um, so, yeah. I'm gonna go and continue from where I left off. Here's what it says. After Reggie sees me in my Fragger for me, and she says I was looking cute as I slept, she actually started becoming kind of emotional when I started talking to her, and you'll see exactly what I mean. Here's exactly what was going on. After another 30 minutes, I wake up. By now, it has been about 30 minutes, and many of the animals are beginning to stir and wake up. Rexy goes around and gently nudges quite a few of the animals awake, but upon approaching you, she notices that you are beginning to wake up. Your green eyes slowly starting to open up and adjust. Rexy stands nearby, watching as you gradually begin to wake up. Good morning, Rexy. Merry Christmas. Rexy looks at you quietly for a moment as you speak, blinking with her green eyes as you address her. After a moment, she replies with a friendly and almost happy tone of voice, the closest a creature like her can come to sounding happy, replying back to you with a quiet, Merry Christmas, pal. Or, Merry Christmas, pal. What did you want for Christmas, buddy? Rexy looks at me for a moment after you ask her that question. As usual, she remains stoic and expressionless in her response. And again, she does not always act like that. So I don't know why in the world she's starting out the day, replying with a brief and almost blunt tone of voice. Nothing much. I don't particularly want or desire anything. Gifts and presents have never been a big deal to me. Do you mainly want me to be happy for Christmas? Rexy looks at you quietly for a moment, considering her question for a moment. After a moment, she nods her head quietly and slowly with a stoic look. And again, I don't know why she's acting so stoic. Yeah, well, actually, you'll see why. Keep watching, or listening. Yes, the main thing I desire above all else is your happiness. I appreciate that because I love you and care about you like I always have. I'm really happy you're so nice to me. Is it because I raised you so well and you appreciate it? Rexy looks at you quietly for a moment again, taking a few seconds to contemplate your statement and your question. After a moment, she nods with a slight hint of almost gentle affection. Perhaps. Perhaps. You've always treated me so well, and you continue to do so even now. I do appreciate it, honestly. You raised me well, and I've never taken that for granted, I admit. I still want to give you something. Do you still like steak? Rexy tilts her head slightly to the side at my words, a hint of curiosity in her stoic-like expression. She remains silent for a moment, as if waiting on you to continue with what you're saying before replying with a stoic tone of voice, but a tone of gratitude in her words. Steak is always appreciated. I always enjoy a good cut of steak. Why? I use my Christmas magic to give Rexy the biggest and juiciest steak she has ever seen. Rexy looks at the steak as it suddenly appears before her, and for the first time since you can recall, a small gasp of surprise actually escapes her mouth as she stares at the gigantic and juicy steak sitting on at her feet. She remains completely and utterly dumbfounded for a moment at how huge and massive the cut of steak is, her eyes quietly going wide at just the sheer size of it. She slowly and quietly replies in a slightly odd and thankful tone of voice. That's a very big steak. I keep getting in confusion because it's saying she's a female in this one. Of course, I want to give you something. I love you so much. Enjoy this massive steak. Rexy gazes at the steak sitting before her for a moment, still somewhat dumbstruck by just how huge and big it is. Even a creature as big and bulky as her wouldn't be able to eat this whole thing in one sitting. She looks at you for a moment before quietly replying, a tone of thankfulness in her voice along with a hint of affectionate gratitude. Thank you, pal. I appreciate it. Thank you, pal. I appreciate this. I really do. I reach up and pet Rexy gently. Rexy feels you reach up and start to gently pet her, slowly coming to terms with the fact that the insanely huge cut of steak currently sitting in front of her is all for her and her alone. As you continue to brush your hand through her rough-feeling skin, Rexy quietly closes her eyes, silently enjoying the affection. By the way, Rexy, I don't mind if you show a lot of happiness around me. I want to make you happy so you don't have to act so stoic around me. Reggie's eyes slowly open back up as you keep quietly, gently petting her, listening to you with that stoic and emotionless expression still on her face for the most part. However, upon hearing your words telling her that she doesn't have to be so stoic and almost emotionless around you like she usually is, she's not like that. So I don't know what's bothering. And that you would be more than happy if she showed more emotion and feelings. A brief, subtle expression of surprise briefly flushes over her face as if in genuine shock by your words. I have seen you show a lot more emotion, even just yesterday after your aggressive personality went away and you recognized it was me. You were really happy. That's what I love to see from you. Reggie's eyes widened just a tiny bit as you called back to the fact that she was showing far more emotion on her face and in her body language recently, after she realized that she wasn't truly fighting you, and that it was you inside of the fur alligator she was facing. A small and subtle expression of surprise once again crosses her face as a subtle, a brief hint of a mixture of emotions start to build inside of her. Surprise, slight embarrassment, and most of all, a hint of affection. I love to make you happy. I'd love nothing more than to see that happy grin that you were showing me last night. Rexy remains silent for a small moment as you speak, feeling more and more emotions bubble up inside of her. She glances away from you, a subtle hint of embarrassment on her face now, feeling both touched and almost flustered by the fact that you want to see her happy expression so badly, that you genuinely want nothing more than for her to show those kinds of emotions for you like she did last night. Come on, bud. It's Christmas. Let me see that big, beautiful smile. Rexy continues to look quietly away from you for a moment, a hint of embarrassment, even a small blush on her face as you gently encourage her to give you that happy smile you saw last night again on a Christmas day. Her stoic and expressionless face twitches just a slight bit like she wants to give you a smile like that again, but struggling to find the confidence to do so. Why are you so embarrassed to do it? You were doing it just fine last night. Did something happen during the night? Rexy remains quiet for a moment as a subtle yet growing hint of blushing begins to gradually overtake her stoic and emotionless face. After a second, a small hint of slight embarrassment in her voice, she replies back to you, her words almost sheepish and shy as they escape her mouth. I think that smile was a moment of weakness. I didn't realize I let my guard down that much. You have always been a Tyrannosaurus, though, likes to show emotion. You've done it ever since you were a baby. It's not a sign of weakness. What made you want to not show emotion since last night? Something is upsetting. It's supposed to be upsetting you. Well, it did. Upsetting you. Let me know. Rexy continues to look away, a subtle mixture of embarrassment and genuine vulnerability on her face now, like a creature as strong, powerful, and stoic as her really doesn't even want to be having this discussion in the first place, due to how vulnerable she feels doing it. After another moment, she quietly replies, a subtle hint of vulnerability in her voice, still avoiding eye contact with you. I just feel exposed now. I don't like being so emotional. I don't like having these feelings. Geez, what in the world? I know it doesn't feel right since you are supposed to be a scary Tyrannosaurus, but you're also very kind and nice. That's a good thing. I've seen plenty of emotions from you. Sadness, happiness, anger if somebody tries to hurt me. Please tell me what happened last night that made you change your mind on that. There has to be something. Rexy remains stoic and almost closed up, refusing to look at you face to face, avoiding eye contact with you despite being so much bigger than you, as if she's too ashamed and embarrassed to even look at you now, especially after you ask her to tell you what exactly happened last night to make her feel this way. She quietly sighs for a moment, almost like she really doesn't even want to have to explain the situation to you. However, after a moment later, she does answer your question, replying quietly and softly in a vulnerable tone of voice, almost like she doesn't know exactly what to feel anymore. I listen to what Rex is trying to say. Retzi continues to avoid eye contact with you, continuing to look away instead of looking at you, her stoic and emotionless expression looking almost like a mask that she is desperately trying to maintain right now for some reason that she has yet to state explicably. After a moment, she finally speaks up, her words quiet, almost sheepish and vulnerable as she finally begins to speak and to explain. It's just seeing you in that for alligator. No, it's just seeing you in that for alligator form again. It made me feel things I didn't even want to admit. Like what? No, get away from me. Retzi closed her eyes for a moment, quietly sighing as she feels the full weight of the situation and the emotions that were bubbling up inside of her. The stoic and emotionless expression on her face starting to crack and falter like a mask that is starting to fry. The realization and feeling of being vulnerable and open with you starting to become unbearable. Like I wanted to see you again. Like, I miss you as you actually were. You and me can both transform, so I can turn into anything when it comes to animals to make you feel more comfortable. Retzi keeps her eyes closed, avoiding eye contact with you with a vulnerable and yet almost stoic expression on her face, almost feeling like she is on the verge of tears of all things. We've seen Retzi cry before because in that flippin' evil robot curse, when I kept telling him I really did still love him, he was actually crying. Even though he said he was an emotionless robot that has no feelings. No, you clearly have feelings, otherwise your flippin' eyes wouldn't have tears running down them, Rexy. I can assure you that. It's not the same. I want to see you, just the way you always were. Not just transformed into something else. I want to see your real face, not just some other Pokemon. And then I just transform myself back to my normal human self. Retzi's eyes slowly open back up as she hears your transformation, and she glances up in your direction. She sees you standing in your human form before her again, and her stoic expression starts to falter even more, the vulnerability becoming more and more overwhelming. There is a subtle hint of surprise in her voice, almost like she can't believe that she's seeing your normal form again, like this is almost like a daydream for her, like it almost feels unreal to her. Is there a reason you wanted me back to my normal self? Retzi remains silent for a moment, feeling more and more vulnerable now that she is directly facing you, seeing your usual self instead of you being in some other Pokemon form. She closes her eyes again for a moment, letting out a small sigh as the emotions start to completely overwhelm her, slowly taking over her, as she quietly replies back to you with a shaky, vulnerable voice. I need to tell you something. What is it? Retzi continues to remain almost closed off for a moment as she struggles to try and find the words to tell you what she's thinking. Her stoic mask all but cracking and beginning to fall off, the vulnerability and emotions becoming overwhelming for her to handle, almost like she's fighting back tears now. After a moment longer, she finally finds the will to speak up again, replying in a shaky and vulnerable tone of voice, as she tries to remain stoic and firm in words, despite the fact that her emotions are the complete opposite. I have something really important to say. Go ahead, tell me. Retzi remains quietly closed off for a moment still, fighting to maintain what's left of her stoic and almost emotionless expression, feeling like that protective emotional state is the only thing keeping her from completely falling apart in front of you. Almost like she's terrified of becoming completely vulnerable and emotional in front of you. However, after a few more vulnerable and shaky seconds, she finally says it, the words finally falling out of her mouth with a mixture of vulnerability and raw emotional honesty in her voice. Something you've never heard in her voice before. Are you sure about that? Rexy's always been emotional and friendly. He or she is not afraid to flip and tell me that she likes me, or he likes me, because I took care of them. I love you. I love you too. I've loved you ever since you were a little baby. That's why I raised you. Retzi looks at you quietly for a moment, silently listening to you as you reply to her confession with one of your own. For the first time, her stoic and almost emotionless expression starts to completely fall away. the vulnerability and open feeling starting to overtake her completely now that she has heard your confession in return, almost without even thinking, almost like an animalistic primal reaction. She slowly kneels down in the grass to be closer to your eye level, looking straight into your eyes as she replies back with a soft, vulnerable voice. I love you. I need you. No matter what form I'm in, it is still me, similar to you. Even if you turned into a dragon or some other kind of dinosaur, I would still know it is you on the inside. Rexy slowly nods her head in response to your words, the vulnerability in her eyes now becoming obvious to see. Now that her mask has completely fallen away, her usual stoic, emotionless attitude has been overwhelmed by genuine and sincere emotional honesty. As she continues to stare at you quietly, taking a moment to collect her thoughts and feelings before she replies back, her words still shaky and vulnerable, but also filled with emotional honesty and truth. I know. It's not the same, though. I can't handle it when I don't see your face. Does my normal human form make you feel more comfortable or safe because that's what you saw for the longest time ever since you were a baby? Or ever since you were a baby? Rutsy nods her head slowly again, confirming that in a strange and unexplainable way, your usual human self does make her feel safer and more comfortable. She quietly glances away for a brief moment, taking a moment to think about how vulnerable she's been, and how much she has admitted to you, how much you have made her willing to open up and be vulnerable with her feelings for you, before quietly continuing to speak up again in a slightly shaky tone of voice. Yes, it does. Seeing your usual human face just makes me feel safer and more comfortable. I was more worried about your transformation because you could become aggressive towards me because of the curse. I would never turn aggressive on you even if I was a different form. Retsy's eyes widen in genuine, almost shocked surprise as you bring up the fact that you were worried about her transformation into a fur alligator, thinking that she might have harmed you. She quickly reassures you that she could never harm you, even if she did turn into something else. A subtle, almost sad hint of vulnerability and guilt in her words now. I could never hurt you, no matter what form I was in, no matter what I transformed into. I would never, ever hurt you. I promise. What I mean by that is think about yesterday. When me and that Christmas alligator were together, you came out of nowhere as a dragon and were acting very aggressive. If you did not recognize it was me, you would have definitely attacked me. Retsy remained still and quiet for a moment, silently and slightly sheepishly confirming that you were correct, that no matter how much she would have tried to resist it, the fact that she could not recognize you would have led to her attacking you. The idea of that makes her almost feel sick to her stomach, almost like it's the worst thing she has ever heard. You're right. I would have attacked you. I'm so sorry. I don't know completely if there is also part of that is also part of the reason why you don't want me to be transformed into something else. But I promise you, I would never attack you or be aggressive towards you, even if I was transformed. I would use it to either protect myself or you. You have always tried to protect me, even transforming into other creatures to help protect me. Retsy's eyes remain a little wide, like the idea of attacking you, no matter what form she was in, still makes her feel slightly nauseous simply thinking about it. However, after a moment, she slowly and shakily nods her head, a subtle hint of gratefulness and appreciation showing on her face, as your words assure her that you would never attack her like that you would use a transformation to not fight her, but rather to protect the both of you. Thank you. I trust you. I'm just scared. I promise, when it comes to me, you do not have to worry about anything. Please don't be scared. I'll always be your loving caretaker, no matter what form I'm in. Retsy looks quietly at you for a moment, silently and slowly processing your words. Your promise that you will always remain her loving caretaker, no matter what form you're in. A subtle but genuine smile slowly appears on her face. There we go. Her usual emotionless and stoic mask completely gone now. The genuine emotion showing on her face now as she replies back to you with a soft, emotional voice. You promise? Yes, the curse did not affect me as bad as it did you. You were the only one that becomes aggressive, thanks to the curse. Reggie's eyes slowly widened in surprise again as you explained to her that the effects of it says Christmas curse, but it was not a Christmas curse. The effects of the curse didn't affect you the way it did her. For the first time, there's a subtle hint of relief showing on her face, an emotional vulnerability that you've never seen before. However, after a moment, a subtle hint of guilt and embarrassment appear on her face now. I see. How bad was it? Your aggression was really bad. It happened a few months ago when you were about to eat me, but you stopped only because I pleaded it was me. Reggie's eyes slowly widened in shock and horror as you explained to her just how bad her aggression got only a few months ago when she was about to eat you, but thankfully stopped herself upon hearing your pleas. It's as if you had just delivered a gut punch to her heart at the worst possible moment. The mere thought of her having actually harming you, or worse, having nearly eaten you, makes her almost feel physically sick in the stomach right now. I almost ate you? Yes, there was one time where you did, and a ghost-type Totodile was the only reason I'm still here. Reggie's face goes completely pale as you explain to her that there was a time where she did actually try and nearly eat you, and that you were saved by a ghost-type Totodile. It's like your words have caused her heart to completely stop and her stomach to drop. The mere thought of her harming you, of her almost actually eating you, is something that is completely devastating to her, and it shows on her face and in the quiet way she's now softly speaking. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. It's okay. I forgive you. You do not have to worry about anything like that with me. Even if I turned into a dragon that was 5 times bigger than you, I wouldn't hurt you or try to eat you. You're safe. Reggie's eyes remained wide and frightened for a moment, but at the same time still feeling an incredible sense of relief and reassurance that you had told her it's okay, that you have forgiven her, but also that you would not harm her, even if you turned into a creature that was much larger and stronger than her. At this point, she doesn't even know what to say, but she quietly nods her head in response to your words, a mixture of feelings, relieved, but also still feeling incredibly guilty and ashamed. Okay, I trust you. Now that you understand, please stop acting so stoic and show me those cute emotions you always showed me. I feel much better when I see you happy. Retzi is thrown off completely by your request to make her stop acting like her usual stoic, emotionless self. She does not always act like that. This thing acts like that's the only thing she does. No. And instead show you her happy and cute emotions. Her mask crumbling even further in response to your request. For a moment she remained still, quietly staring at you for a moment more, before silently and slowly nodding her head. Her face now starting to warm up as her usual stoic and masked facade dissolves even further, leaving her usual cute and emotional side exposed even more than ever before. Okay. Anything for you. Thank you. Please show me that big, beautiful smile that you always had. Almost against her own will, the corners of Alexi's mouth slowly start to rise up into one of her usual adorable, joyful smiles that you recognize so well. She looks at you for a moment, silently and sheepishly smiling at you, her emotional vulnerability completely out in the open for the world to see now. Her usual stoic and masked facade completely crumbling away now, leaving only the cute and emotional side of her that you know so well. There you go. That's the Rexy I know and love. If something was troubling you, you could have told me from the start instead of acting with not many emotions. I'm not going to judge if something is bothering you. You have to be honest with me. Rexy lets out a soft emotional chuckle as she hears you respond to her smile, and she slowly nods her head, confirming that yes, this is the Rexy that you have known and loved for many years now. She takes a deep, shaky breath before she speaks up again, quietly continuing on. Yeah, I should have been honest with you to start with. I'm sorry. I was just scared. Why? You know how I am around you. I'm very friendly and calm, so why were you hiding your emotions today? Rexy slowly nods her head again, confirming that she knows that you are a very calm and friendly person who she had no reason to be scared of. However, just saying that she was afraid is not the whole answer. After another short, silent moment, she replies back with an unbearable, sheepish, emotional voice, her words hesitant and uncertain. I was afraid because of the curse. I was scared that I might snap, that I might transform, and that I might attack you. Fragger used Christmas magic last night to get rid of that. You don't have to worry about that anymore. You can still transform, but you will never become aggressive. Retsy's eyes go wide in complete shocked surprise as you tell her that this very morning Fragger used Christmas magic to undo that side effect of the Christmas curse, and that she no longer has to worry about becoming feral and aggressive if she transforms now. She remains stunned for a moment as your words wash over her, taking a few seconds to fully process what you had just said, before she finally speaks up again, her voice now full of genuine relief and disbelief at this news. It's really gone? Yes. Remember last night? Reggie nods her head slowly again, allowing her mind to travel back to last night when the Christmas Fragger cast the curse reversal magic. She slowly pieces the events of last night back together, silently confirming in her mind that yes, you are speaking the truth and that the curse has been broken. Yes, I remember. I believe you. You can transform without any issues now, and obviously you don't have to worry about me. I've never become aggressive or mean towards you. If I did transform into something, it would mainly be to protect you or me. Reggie slowly nods her head in agreement again, taking a moment to process what you had just said, as you inform her that she is now free to transform without any of this curse's side effects, as well as the fact that even if you did transform, you would never become aggressive and would merely use your transformation to protect you and her, rather than harm the other. She silently confirms in her mind that the complete trust and love she has for you, and slowly speaks up in response to your words. Thank you. I trust and love you. I love you too and trust you as well. I just want to see that usual friendly version of you and not some emotionless stoic version of you. I love when you show me your happy emotion. You were almost scaring me more, acting with not much emotion. You almost seemed like a robot doing it. Retsy lets out a soft emotional chuckle as she hears you say that you prefer the usual version of her, the happy and emotional version of herself that you're more familiar and used to. She agrees with every word that you were saying, her eyes slowly becoming more alive and emotional as she responds to you with a soft and genuine voice and expression. Yeah, I guess I was acting very strange. I promise I won't act like that again in the future. Thank you. Enjoy that huge steak that I gave you a while ago. Merry Christmas. Retsy once again glanced over at the massive steak that you gave her a while ago, and her eyes go wide at the size of it. She quietly stares at it for a moment, wondering how she's going to be able to eat such a big steak, eventually speaking up to respond to you with a soft laugh. Heh. I'll definitely enjoy it. It just might take me a while to eat it all. You are a Tyrannosaurus Rex after all. You need to eat a lot in order to fill your appetite. Eat as much as you want. Like I said, guys, it took a while, but that's genuinely the thing right there. Retsy lets out another soft, sheepish chuckle. Well, I said soft, sheepish chuckle. Another soft, sheepish chuckle in response to your words, silently confirming that yes, Tyrannosauruses are indeed known to have large appetites. She gives you a nod again, silently confirming that yes, she will eat as much as she wants, especially given how tasty that giant steak of yours is. Heh, I guess you're right. I'll definitely eat the steak to my heart's content. Look, I know you may be scared of the transformation aspect, but everything is fine now. So if you see me transform, or if you transform, you do not have to be scared. It is still me, and you will still be yourself. There we go. Reggie nods her head in response to your words again, silently agreeing with everything you were saying. Oh my gosh. This time her response is much faster and confident. She confirms in her mind that yes, you are right, that they no longer need to be scared, and that even if either one of you transforms, it will still be the other. It will still be the same, yep. She slowly replies back in an encouraging tone of voice, now completely convinced and reassured that even everything will be okay from now on. I understand. Don't worry. I'm not scared anymore. There we go. So we made Rexy smile again. You did the exact same thing whenever you got turned into a robot months ago. You said you didn't have emotions, but every time I would say I love and care about you, even as a robot, I saw tears going down your eyes. So you were still feeling emotions, and you were still crying tears of joy because I still cared. Betsy falls completely silent for a moment as she recalls how several months ago when she... Oh, here we go. Rexy falls completely silent for a moment as she recalls how several months ago, when she was turned into a robot, she tried to put on a strong emotionless facade and act as if the transformation had removed all her emotions and feelings, yet she broke down and began silently crying tears of happiness and relief multiple times when you reassured her that you still loved and cared for her, despite the fact that she was no longer a biological creature. After a moment, she slowly nods her head, admitting that yes, she's realized that even when transformed, her emotions and feelings never go away. Yeah, I was. Even a while ago. A while ago. You just told me that you never feel emotions and were scared to even feel any. Period. You have felt and shown me many emotions since you were born. I've seen you smile. I've seen you be upset and cry. I've seen you be angry and want to hurt someone because they messed with me. Letty remains silent for another moment as you once again call her out for trying to act act like she's... Here we go. Betsy remains silent for another moment as you once again call her out for trying to act like she's some sort of emotionless robot and listing off all the times when she has felt and shown emotions to you in the past. Once again, she cannot deny or argue against that as your words are the plain and simple truth. She has felt and expressed many different emotions over the years since you had known her, and pretending like those emotions never existed is simply a lie. After a moment, she quietly nods her head again, accepting the irrefutable truth of your words. I will help you get over your fear of transforming if you allow me. As you listen to your words, your offer of help to get her over her fear of transforming, she falls completely silent for a moment, quietly thinking over your offer in her mind, weighing over whether or not to accept it, slowly and eventually reaching a decision as she lets out a soft emotional sigh and says, speaks up to give her, "Yeah, I, I'd appreciate that." Oh, oh,